know that book bans and book challenges are two different things and that book challenges are not always bad? Hey friends, I'm Moni Barrett, resident comics librarian, longtime anti-censorship, anti-book ban person, here to educate you from the second day of Banned Books Week. Happy Banned Books Week, as it were. I wanted to give a little bit of context and education around the terms banned and challenged books, because a lot of us out here in library land are really exhausted, and it's time for public knowledge to kind of help us fill the gap as we continue to face these bans and challenges. So, book bans are when legislation, protocol, some type of rule is set into place where a book is actually removed from a library's collection, a school collection, and it is documented somehow that that is not available to come back. And hopefully there's reasons around that decision, and also what the penalties are should that book not be removed. That is something you should be anti. You should be anti-book ban, because it is not, well, I'll get into it. A book challenge, however, can actually be a good thing and an opportunity for rediscovery and for growth and for communication. Let me explain. So as you can imagine, if a ban is that is removed and no longer allowed, a challenge is primarily really a more negative way of saying it starts anyway with a question. And most, hopefully by now, all libraries have in place some kind of procedure and policies for how a challenge works, where a member of the public or, a member of the school, if it's a school library, sees something in a book that they say, hey, I am not comfortable with this because it has nudity. And then that becomes a protocol, a ticket in the procedure, where someone who is qualified, a librarian, a teacher, someone who knows what they're looking at, would go ahead and review that, even if they've read it before, whether they have or they haven't, review that material for those specific concerns and give a thoughtful response to the member of the public who had that question. And at that point, it can be said, we agree with you, we're going to move it to an older collection. So if it was in the teen area, we're going to put it in adult because it's more adult appropriate. Or we disagree with you, here's documentation as to why. That's where reviews become important. So having a review in school library journal, book list, even on websites, different places, to say, it's not just me as the librarian who's saying this book should stay where it is, but actually it's had multiple professional reviews and they all agree this is teen appropriate. So that's the difference between a ban and challenge. And challenges can be really neat because obviously we've come a long way, not all the way, as a society by 2024, in the way that we talk about things like disabilities, mental health, gender, lots of different things that we talk about now, race, ethnicity, that, something in the 60s, 70s, 80s that may or may not still be on a library shelf, for archive reasons, may depict, race relations in a way that we would never dream of doing with 2024 eyes. And so that may be a time where a challenge comes in, hey, this makes me uncomfortable with what we know in 2024, and that's an opportunity then for the library staff to internally re-review and figure out, is this something we should have? Is this something we should put a disclaimer on if that's something they do? Maybe you move it up, and I'm not saying that things are inherently should be moved up, but sometimes you say, well, it's not nudity and it's not violence, but by that point in their curriculum, most high schoolers won't have learned about the historical context for why we don't talk like this anymore. So maybe that's a reason to discuss potentially moving it up into the adult area. This is just an example, library friends. I know there's a whole lot more nuance than that, but for John Q. Public, these are the differences between bans and challenges, and why challenges can actually be a good thing, something we welcome when you're saying you want feedback and you want engagement from your community, that they care about what's on the bookshelves, versus a ban when one person decides nobody should have this. And we'll talk more about that on a different video. But for now, bans and challenges with Moni Barrett. Happy Banned Books Week.